Today I'm going to go over the basics of your footer detail section drawing. You should be able to really do this whole drawing without the video, but if you need a little extra help, feel free to watch this video. We're going to start with our 6 by 12 concrete footer, which is attached to our 8-inch concrete wall. We have our 4-inch concrete slab, our 3-inch of concrete fill, and then we're going to create this kind of pattern to make up what would be the earth underneath that fill. We have a 4-inch drainage tile and then little crushed stone to help promote drainage around that space. I'm going to make this top corner the center of my drawing. You could probably also try and figure out the center of this, but I'm going to use this corner as the center of my drawing. So I'm going to start by going corner to corner and just finding where the center of that drawing is, or the center of my paper. So I'm going to create, I know that this is an 8-inch wall. So if this is my corner, I'm coming over, this is 4 inches for that wall, but total I'd have to come over 6 for half of that 12 inches. So I'm going to come over horizontally. Again, I'm drawing a little bit darker. Your layout lines should be nice and light. We shouldn't be able to see those. But I am darkening it so you can see it on the video, hopefully. So we'll see. So I'm going to come over 6 inches, and I'm going to make a mark. And I know that total it's going to be 12 inches, so let's just mark that as well. I like to do all of my measuring at one time, so I don't have to do things over and over again. So I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to measure down 6 inches because that actual concrete footer is 12 by 6. So there's the bottom of that footer. Let's come over our 4 inches. I'm just going to draw that 8-inch concrete wall while I'm here. So if this is 0, here's 8. Let's project that up. Now this is a good time, I'm going to grab my eraser shield, and I'm just going to clean up a little bit of my extra lines before I continue on with more of my drawing. This one isn't really going to matter because that's going to be the top of my fill, but the bottom of my concrete slab. But I'm just going to bring in my eraser shield and just kind of clean up some of those extra lines. Doesn't have to be perfect. We can always come in and clean them up later, but before I add too much of my drawing, especially the texture of the materials, I like to get rid of some of those extra lines, and I work as I go. So let's find that 1/2-inch expansion joint. So what that is, we talked about when we were watching the movie, or the video, about how we need to leave a gap. I'm betting this is only a 6-inch wall. Oh, sorry, 1/2-inch. Nope, I was doing 2 inches, sorry. So I'm going to leave a 1/2-inch gap. This allows for, as the materials to expand and contract with freezing, it allows that little bit of gap, so that way the concrete doesn't crack. So I have a 1/2-inch expansion joint, then I'm going to come up 4 inches because that's going to be how tall that concrete slab is. So there is my concrete slab. Remember, when we're adding any of our patterning or texture to our concrete, we're going to use the same pattern we did for our sill. So it's going to be random triangles, circles, and then stippling to show that that's concrete. Below that, we're going to put in 3 inches of fill, and I'm going to use this corner right here for that. So I'm going to come down 3 inches, and I'm going to create that fill space. So I'm going to have fill, my concrete slab, I have my expansion joint, which again, I created a little bit too long, but I can always use my eraser shield to help clean up some of that. So I'm going to leave what I want to keep, and I'm just going to erase what's not necessary. Now, I'm going to go over and grab a circle template. Hold 1 second, please. So the next part we really need to come up with is this 4-inch drainage tile. Now, the circle templates I don't have different scales. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to use the space on the bottom of my drawing. I'm going to draw a line 4 inches long. And I'm going to use that line to help me determine what circle I'm going to use. So I'm going to use a 1/2 inch for the exterior of the pipe, and as you can see, it's walled. So I want to leave a little bit on the inside. So I think I'm going to use 3/8 to go on the inside. So let's go ahead and lay out where that's going to go. From this corner, so this one right here, I'm going to come over 5 and up 5, and I'm going to draw a line there because I need to leave a little bit of space so that way, again, this is a very light line, but I need to leave space so that way the crushed stone that goes around our drainage pipe has enough space between our wall. So I'm going to draw in my center lines. Again, these should be really, really light. They're just helping me lay out the placement of my circle template. And we said we're going to use our 1/2 inch. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to line up the guidelines on my circle template. And I'm going to draw that in. That seems too far. I came over 5. It should only be 3 because we only need half of that distance. Sorry. Let me erase that before I get too far. Let's come over 3. Sometimes when you're drawing, if it doesn't look right, it's probably not. So I'm going to come over 3 and up 3, and that should be a little bit better where it's going to sit inside that kind of corner. So I'm just going to use my guidelines. There's the exterior of my pipe, and we said 3/8. I'm going to use those same guidelines so that way my 2 circles are centered with one another. And there's the inside of my pipe. Then I'm going to come in and use small circles to represent that crushed stone. Again, I like to do some of my cleaning up my lines before I start adding in that texture. So I'm just going to use some of this to block what I don't want to erase. I can always come back in and darken what I need to. I'm actually erasing some of my vertical line so that way I can come back in and I'll just darken that. Just come in and kind of lighten the middle of that. Because we all know that we're going to come back in with our number 2 pencil and darken these visible lines so that way it looks like the complete drawing. So we're just going to use small circles to represent that crushed stone and how that is going to go around our drainage pipe. So we'll add in our patterns for our concrete walls and our concrete slab. Remember, we're just using triangles, circles, and then stippling to represent that. For our 3 inches of fill, we're just going to use circles and stippling. We're not going to add the triangles. And then for the earth beneath the fill, we're going to create a pattern. We're going to create a pattern of 3 vertical lines and then 3 horizontal lines. So that way we're just making up what that earth would be underneath that space. So I'm just going to create that pattern in there to show what material that would be. So all that's going to be left is adding our nodes and to show our concrete wall, our 4-inch drainage pipe, our crushed stone, our 6-inch by 12-inch footer, 3 inches of fill, a 4-inch concrete slab, and a 1/2-inch expansion joint. And then don't forget to put your scale. So we're drawing all of our detailed drawings at 1.5 inches equals 1 foot. So this should be enough for you to then complete the drawing. Feel free to look at the example up front to help you get to that final drawing. And be sure to always ask questions if you have any.